Hello and a good evening to everyone. My name is Adri Dhanandini and I'm an inspirer at Pick a Book. So I'm going to be the moderator for today's session. And it is my pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this session of the Author Saga webinar series. So to begin the session, let me give everyone a brief introduction to what Pick a Book is. Pick a Book is a global movement, a global initiative taken to encourage the habit of reading among the community. Through this, by becoming a member of Pick a Book, we encourage all our members to read a book, research on it thoroughly, and present it to an audience. By doing so, all the members will get the chance to hone his or her public speaking abilities, language skills, and of course, be exposed to a wide variety of knowledge and even emotions. So, by in Pick a Book, by encouraging the habit of reading, we have many different products, and all of you guys have joined in today for another exciting session of the Author Saga series. The Author Saga series is conducted to reach the upcoming authors, to support them, to recognize their work, and to help them to reach this community of like minded readers. So today, we have a wonderful author, Ms. Adita Disanaik. Ms. Adita Disanaika is a Sri Lankan author. She's a columnist and a translator as well. She has a BA in English, a first class degree from the University of California. She has studied journalism at the New York University of USA. She's also the winner of HAI Gunatilaka Award 2016 and the State Literary Award for the Best English Translation in the year 2013. Her published work include three novels: They Are Somewhere in the Green Hills, When a Cloud Left the Sky, and 1034. These are a collection of short stories for young adults. They are My Mind is Made Up, I'm Afraid It's You, and a book for children as well, The Friend is Scarecrow. Scarecrow. And more than that, she has made true translations also of classic Sinhala literature to English, The Age of Kali and The Golden Casket. So it is my absolute pleasure and honor to introduce the wonderful author, Ms. Adita Disanaika, this evening. A good evening and thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today.
Good evening, Audrey. It's nice to be here today with you.
Thank you, and the pleasure is all ours. So, we have a series of questions ready for you. We want all of our audience to get to know this book 1034 and your journey of becoming an author as well. So, let us dive into the questions. So, first of all, I'm sure this is a question that all our viewers have today as well. I want to know what inspired you to write this book. Writing a book is not an easy thing, it's not an easy task, and you have completed in many novels. And I want to know what drives you, what inspires you to write this book.
Yes, Audrey. I don't know if you could call it inspire, but I think it was Haruki Murakami who made me write 1034. Because before I started to write 1034, I was reading a lot of Murakami novels and short stories, and I ended up feeling so puzzled. I could understand what was going on. There were cats who were speaking, and strange events, and these spirits who meet each other in different worlds. I just couldn't understand what was going on, and I ended up feeling how good it would be if I could write, if I could read rather an old-fashioned novel that had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and characters I could relate to. So I tried to find books like that, but sadly, most modern fiction have this magical realism element in them. So I ended up mostly writing 1034 for myself because I wanted to read an old-fashioned book, the kind Jane Austen would have written, and that
Exactly.
was one reason. One other reason was before I started writing 1034, there were lots of trees being felled in our neighborhood. People are just cutting down mango trees, coconut trees. I don't know why. There was no logical reason for it. And also, our neighbors would always ask us to chop off branches of our trees that were invading their gardens. That felt sad too because trees don't know that we humans have allocated places, plots of land on earth and call them that they belong. This plot belongs to us. This plot belongs to you. This plot belongs to them. And trees can't invade this other person's property. Trees don't know that, they just spread their branches anywhere they wish to spread them. But people ask us to chop off branches of trees, and I feel as living beings, they must be feeling the pain of having a branch chopped off. I wanted to incorporate all these things into books and reach out to my readers and touch their hearts and make them understand that trees are also living beings, that we can't be here today if not for trees. In fact, planet Earth won't be here today if not for trees. So we really must love them and treat them as another living being. I combined these two and came up with 1034.
That's a wonderful introduction. I think that created all the curiosity needed for all the audience in the as well, because it sounds like a great book, a combination of a passionate nature lover, along with bringing. I love what you said about how you wanted to write a book that is relatable to everyone. I mean, the fiction that you mentioned, how it's always how modern fiction is realistic, but people's lives are far from realistic. And I love the fact that you wanted to make it relatable to all the readers as well. So again, I'm thrilled to have this conversation with you. I'm positive it's going to be a great one. And now that we've discussed what led you to write this book, I mean, knowing that it's a combination of a passion for the environment conservation, as well as the passion for writing a book that will make it more relatable to the audience, I'd like to move on to the next question. So, for the benefit of all of us at the audience today, I want you to tell us something about this book without summarizing it.
Yeah, how I mentioned earlier, it's about trees, nature, about the squirrels on the branches of the trees, butterflies, grasshoppers, nature, the whole of nature, and also it's about ourselves. I wanted to unravel the fact that we are almost always pretending, we never reveal our true selves. I wanted my characters to unmask themselves and reveal our true nature. So in a way, it's about nature in two different ways. One is nature as we see the environment around us, and also our inner selves, the natural self that we are supposed to be. I wanted that also to be conveyed in my book.
A wonderful answer. I myself am very intrigued. I mean, when we say nature, we always expect it to be the environment, the trees, the animals, like you mentioned. And this book seems to have a component on that nature as well as the nature of us as individuals, on how we are perceived to be and how we should always be true to ourselves. I love the concept, seems very intriguing. And here is my third question to you. So, I was actually wondering about this as well. Why did you choose 1034 as the title of this book?
I dare not tell you the answer. I think it's a secret. You'll find the answer to your question within the pages of 1034 once you read it. But I'd also like to add that the time between 10 to 11 in the morning is my favorite time of day. The sun's rays are not too strong. The wind is soft on a sunny day, of course. And when my cat Poddy is out in the garden, butterflies come to tease her. They come close to her, and when she tries to catch them, they fly away. It's, I think, the perfect time of day when all seems well with the world. And I'm glad that I used 1034, that time of day, as the title of my novel. And I'm also grateful that Manjula Kumara Gamage, who created the cover of my book, managed to capture what I wanted to convey in my title perfectly in the cover he designed for 1034.
Right, that's quite an interesting idea. You have named the book for based on a perfect timing, the perfect time of the day that you feel at most peace, and the time that we feel like it's all right. That's a great idea and a great concept as well. So I want to know, like, so there are characters in this book. Were the characters inspired by real life people?
Uh, I don't really know, Adri. I think no, I can't say X was based on Y. I can't pinpoint a certain character was based on a certain person, but I think all my characters are combinations of the people I have met, heard about, imagined, and definitely, but when it comes to the men in my stories, I think they're totally imaginary because they're kind of perfect, and I don't think there are such men in real life.
Drawing back to your point about Jane Austen, also, I think that's where we draw a little similarity. The perfect men that you
Yeah,
write about. They might be drawn from the Jane Austen books as well. If you're a fan,
yeah, I am, especially of Mr. Darcy.
me too. Me too, actually. So I kind of understand. It's very intriguing to know that these Jane Austen characters are still brought up in modern novels as well.
Yeah,
So I
true.
think the characters that you might have mentioned in your book might have been the ideal people that you would wish to be. I mean, maybe the people who are the realists, who are more very real in their selves, or maybe the people that you might have met, the people you know. I mean, you're a reader, right? Then all the people that, like you mentioned, the people that you imagine also.
True. Yeah, could be.
Great.
So,
Moving on to the next question. I wanted to ask, so how this book 1034 differs from your previous work?
well, I think even though I criticize Murakami for being a difficult writer to read, I confess in my previous books, Somewhere in the Green Hills and When a Cloud Left the Sky, I myself was a bit too complex because I was moving from the past to the present and back to the past, and there were too many characters in those two novels. I think 1034 in that sense is much more simpler and also more profound perhaps because through that simplicity I'm trying to convey a deeper meaning, and I hope my readers will get the meaning and I'd be able to make a better impact through this book, which is more simpler.
I'm sure it is. Sounds like a great read. Sounds like a must read, I must say.
Thank you.
So, to move on, I wanted to ask, so what craft elements do you think are your strong suit? And what would you like to be better at?
Oh well, it's really funny, I think, but in real life I'm not good at talking with people, making conversations. When I meet someone, I always hope she or he will carry on the conversation, and I just have to say oh and yeah, oh aha, or something like that. And in that sense I'm a good listener, I think that means. And thankfully when I start to write, because I've been listening so well, I think I write dialogues and conversations very well, even though I say so myself, and my readers have also said that. And so I think that's my strong point. I'm good at writing dialogues and conversations. And also, I think my weak point is that I rush through my story too fast in a breathless kind of way. I move from event to event too fast. I wish I could slow down a bit, describe things more. Perhaps one day I will slow down and write a tome like Moby Dick or something. But perhaps in my next novel, I'll slow down a bit, I think.
Right. So you must that if you feel like you're rushing from event to event, that must be one of the things that keeps the people gripped though to reading a book. That's always
Yeah.
a sign of a great book, that not having the ability to put it down.
But still, I think the story ends too fast.
Okay. So, you being a great listener and an introvert, like you said, which I totally understand, must make you more aware of how everybody else feels, everybody else's emotions. You must be a great person for others to talk to. I think that's one of the qualities that bring out a very human nature when you're writing a book, a very good aspect in an author. It must
Yeah,
help.
yeah, yeah, true. But then it's also so hard when you interview me or something. I have to express myself. I find it hard because I have always been listening, not talking.
Okay. Okay, so let us move on to the next question. So, can you tell us what was going on in your life as you wrote this book? How did it affect your writing?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm also a translator. I was translating Batuangal Hamudro's Gum, his latest novel, into from Sinhala to English. In the mornings I translate the novel, Batuangal Hamudro's book, and then in the evening I write 1034. And it was such a contrast because in as a translator I didn't have the freedom to use my creativity as I wished. I couldn't change anything. I couldn't make the characters do what I wanted to do because they're Batuangal Rahulahimis characters. So my creativity was limited in as a translator. And in the evening when I was writing 1034, I let my creativity soar wherever it wished to go. There was a contrast in what I was doing at the time. I think it helped both texts, and that was what was happening in my life when I was writing 1034.
That sounds great. I understand the fact that you said so when you're translating, it's hard to, you don't have the freedom you want to. And instead, here you are creating your own story, your own characters based on how you wish them to be. And you have the freedom to make them do whatever. And it sounds like a very exciting journey writing a book.
It was.
So, apart from the writing, can you tell us the various influences on your book?
I think every writer I have ever read influenced me when I write anything. But mostly, I think the Russian writers influenced me a lot because I grew up reading Russian books from Dostoevsky to Gorky to Pushkin to Goncharov, all the Russian writers, and most of them I read in Sinhala translation. I think they influenced me a lot, and I admire them for the way they had this discipline. They had disciplined themselves so perfectly, especially when it came to expressing emotions and their feelings. They were never really outwardly angry or anything like that. And I think I hope that I was influenced by the Russian writers. It would be really great if I was.
Can I ask you a question, Adita? Have you been a reader from childhood?
Yes, I have always been reading, and thankfully, my father has a huge library, and I used to read anything and everything. He allowed me to read anything that I liked.
I think you've had great influences on your life. I mean, you mentioned about the Russian writers, starting from Gorky, Maxim Gorky to everyone, and then again to Jane Austen, which is a quite different platform, or quite different writers in different times, based on different countries, different cultures. So you reading all of this must make you a very knowledgeable person of everything and different areas, and all of these combined must have helped in
I
bringing
hope
out
so.
this perspective.
I hope so.
I think it is because I think that now, since we have a lot of influencers starting from Jane Austen to Maxim Gorky, and you talk about environmental conservation and how people are always encouraged to become the best version of themselves, very much needed topics in today's context, I feel like.
Thank you.
So, I want to ask you another question. Are you totally satisfied with 1034?
Well, Audrey, I really loved writing it, and I feel I'm not satisfied in the sense. I think I finished it too soon. I wish I had lived a bit more in Mali. Mali at the is the place I imagined and created in my book. I wish I was there a bit more with my characters, with the characters I created and I love so much. So I think I'm not satisfied in the sense. I hope I'll be writing a sequel because there's one character called Vino who leaves Mali towards the end of the book, and I wish to bring him back to Mali and write about how he will react to the trees and the bees and the grasshoppers who are there in Mali and perhaps I might call that book 354 or something like that in the evening. But all this is still in the dream stage. I'm still dreaming about it.
It sounds like a great idea for a sequel. I mean, I anyway love the fact that you were able to combine the passion for the environment and the individualism of each and every one of us. They sound like two opposite ends because usually it sounds like two opposite ends, and I think you've combined two great concepts together. I personally would think that a sequel is a great idea.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to ask, who helped you in this process of writing and publishing 1034?
Well, my parents, of course. My father, Daya Disanayaka, and my mother, Indrani Fatirana. They have always been so supportive and they always gave me the freedom to pursue my dreams. They never imposed their dreams on me. They never said, be a doctor, be an engineer. They just let me be. And that's why I'm here today talking about my books with you. So I'm very grateful to my parents and also my husband Nishant Abesingha and my daughter Theruni. They're my worst critics or perhaps my best critics. I don't know. Like when I come up with strange titles for my 1034, I was being old fashioned, remember? So I came up with Dew Dappled Grass or something like that, and I asked them, okay, is this a good title? And they laugh and make faces and say that's too old fashioned. So I'm glad that they kept me within a certain limit and not going beyond and being too old fashioned in what I wrote. So I'm grateful to them also and my brother and his family. They also tease me and keep me in check from otherwise I would have got too big headed or something. So they tease I'm glad they tease me and keep me on a certain level. And then there are some several special people that I have to thank a lot. Dr. Nandasiri Jasentuliana and Mrs. Jasentuliana. Dr. Nandasiri Jasentuliana is the former Deputy Director General of the UN. He and his wife have always been very encouraging. And also Dr. Namal Veeramuni and Mrs. Veeramuni. They are always very generous with their praise and the fact that they believe in me means a lot to me. Also, of course, Mr. Vijay Thapa for publishing my book, and also my friends and my readers who have been with me for a long time now since my Sunday Times days when I was writing short stories to the Sunday Times. They have always been with me, and I feel it's their love that gives strength to my wings and helps me fly high when I write.
Indeed. So that's a nice gratitude. That's recognizing everyone who has helped you in this journey. And I like the part about your family, how you said that they are your worst critics. I mean, I was thinking about this. The title of your book, 1034, is very intriguing because, and I mean, you talked about the an old-fashioned title that you would have given. It's very intriguing, and to know how all these things came about because we as readers don't know the background story. We don't know the effort. We don't know where the inspiration comes from when reading a book. What we see is only the cover and what we read within the pages. So it's very interesting and very insightful, I'd say, to talk to you, to talk to authors, to figure out what goes behind the process. What goes behind the process where we only see the magical outcome. And I also wanted to ask, so we do this program, Author Saga, to encourage upcoming authors, to help them reach a community of audience and to encourage new authors in their publications as well. Is there any advices that you would like to give to any upcoming authors, to someone, to anyone who is viewing this event? Maybe any points of clarity or any do's or don'ts that you would like to mention?
Oh well, I think we shouldn't wait till we come up with the perfect product. We must always write whatever we feel like and never go to the extreme of thinking, oh, this is not good. Like, I mean, we mustn't wait till we write the perfect book. Like how someone said once, we must write a book we must never write the book. I mean, if we decide to write the book, we never get going. We'll never write anything. So we should write a book. Like, believe that whatever you write is good and write it out, and not wait for the perfect thing.
That's a very great point. When we wait to do the perfect work, when we wait for perfection, the process and the inspiration and the what is possible might not come out. So I'm sure that's a great advice to everyone. And I also wanted to ask now, since you have written multiple novels and translations, what's it like to be an author? And is there any specific incidents or any specific stages of your career as an author that you would like to mention, or maybe give gratitude to, something that you're thankful, maybe a great decision that you took back in the day? Any specific instances that you would like to mention about?
Oh, yes, I think the greatest milestone in my life was when I passed my O levels with 80s. Those days they had 80s, and I got 80s, and everybody was telling me to study science or maths and become a doctor or an engineer because I have such good O level results. Only my parents said, do whatever you wish. So I refused to study science or maths, and that's also because I had read Virage and Aravinda in Virage says he can't be a doctor, and I decided if Aravinda can't be a doctor, and I also can't cut dead bodies and do stuff like that. So actually, it was a book that I read that influenced the decision I made after my O levels, and so yes, that was the milestone in my life when I refused to study science and I chose to do English and economics and art subjects.
That's great. I think your whole life, the influences and the closeness that you have to this world of books has definitely sharpened your life and the decisions you've made. So, I mean, you seem like to be a very avid reader, a reader of all sorts. Start. You mentioned about Martin Vikramasinghe, Viraga, to Maxim Gorky, to Jane Austen. I'm sure that's a quite a big. That's a great capacity. That's a great reach that you have. All of these things must be depicted and must be influenced in this book 1034, and it seems like a must read to everyone, I must say.
Thank you.
So now we have reached the time end for today's discussion, and I would like to thank Ms. Adita Disanayaka, a wonderful upcoming author, and me. And I would like to mention that myself as being a moderator, I learned a lot, and there are great inspirations that there were great inspiring points that you shared. So I would just like to say thank you to you. It's our pleasure. On behalf of the entire Pick a Book team, I would like to mention that it is our pleasure and honor to have you today with us. It was a great 30 minutes, and it was a great 30 minutes that I spent talking to you too. And I personally learned a lot, and I'm sure it's the same for the audience as well. So I would just like to extend our heartfelt gratitude. Thank you so much, madam, for being here, and thank you for taking your time to do this session as well.
Thank you, Atri, and thank you, Pick a Book, for interviewing me today. It was nice being with you. Thank you very much.
The pleasure is all ours. And before concluding this session, I would like to brief about Pick a Book again. So, Pick a Book is a global initiative taken to encourage and inculcate the habit of reading among the community. By spreading this habit, we hope to give our members, all members, a chance to read a book, to research on it thoroughly and present, and thereby to become the best versions of themselves, possibly by associating themselves in the world of books. So now we have come to the end of our author of the session of Author Saga session today. And my name is Adri Dhanandini, and I'm signing off. A good evening to all and to each and every one of you.